What's up, y'all, and welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today we are here to kick off 2023 by looking back and saying farewell to 2022. Now, for those of y'all that you might have stumbled across this is your first time seeing or hearing my sultry voice. Here at Dad Needs to Talk, it's all about fatherhood and family, manga, lots of manga, as you see behind me, anime, TV, and video games. So, 2022, what a year! As I kind of look back on everything and reflect, because I decided to type out a bunch of stuff and kind of like seeing what all different stuff I have done, and I'm pretty sure I've probably forgotten some stuff that I don't have noted. I did a lot this year. Here on the podcast, a lot of stuff happened life wise. Um, and so looking back at all the stuff for the podcast and content wise, it made me realize that like while yes, this year did have some big humps along the way, literally to the very end, till yesterday, to New Year's Eve. Uh, but also just kind of realizing that there was a lot of great things that happened along the way. And yeah, so like so we just kind of like talked through this stuff. I did one of these last year, a farewell 2021, and I would hopefully like to try to do this every year. For a couple of reasons. For one, for myself, and maybe even my kids one day if they curious, like, hey, what was Dad doing this year or whatever. But it's also kind of like a nice little time capsule for anybody new that might come across this. This is your first time here at Danny to Talk, to kind of get like a condensed look at what all I've done this year, what all I've experienced, and then if you're interested, going back and finding whatever respective episodes or reviews or collaborations or things that I did, and going from there. So 2022, I'm gonna start off just like with life and family stuff real quick. Like I said, it was definitely some bumpy roads along the way. Um, Definitely took some big notes of there were some things that happened that probably could have been avoided with better planning or better organization or less procrastination. Because we know that tends to bite a lot of us in the butt. But it's in the past, can't do nothing but move forward. But yeah. So I have three teenagers now. Oldest boy's 14. The twins, the girls, they are 13 now. Middle boy just turned 10, so he's now double digits. And then my sweet anime child, Vash, he is now 5 and he is in pre-K. So he has entered into the human realm. He's crossed over from the anime plane, and Vash has now entered into the mortal realm. So good luck to any of y'all that have to encounter him. But everything's it's been a solid start to him in school, to the older three going to middle school and stuff. Everybody is flourishing in their academics. They're flourishing in their respective sports and stuff. Uh, my oldest girl, she made it to state again this year in track, and did pretty good in that this year. Oldest boy, we traveled to Phoenix, Arizona. So our first big basketball experience out of state. Now, granted, like we went to Kansas like a few years back, whatever. But that was something we drove to. Whatever. This is the first event that we've had to go to where we had to fly, and so it's like a much bigger scale thing, whatever. And we're gonna hope maybe be doing a lot more of that. So hey, Dan needs to talk. Coming to a state near you in 2023. Uh, but yeah, so that was super dope, super awesome. Uh, and yeah, trying to think of work wise, I got a huge promotion at work. So that kind of came in clutch, and I'm kind of slowly starting to see finally the fruits of that stuff coming to bear. And yeah, so this last week or so of 2022 was a wild bag because in which I'm gonna kind of maybe plan out some stuff differently if I decide to do this again for next year for 2023. But while I of course enjoy doing my week long event of Dad Needs to Talk 2022 favorites, where I had different guests each day of the week where we talked about our favorite things in different subjects from manga, anime, video games, and movies and TV. It was a lot of work. And of course, with it being holidays and stuff, whatever, some schedules got shuffled around last minute, and I had to do a lot of stuff kind of back to back and on top of each other, whatever. So everything came together cool. Y'all that have listened to it or whatever, I've gotten good feedback from it or whatever. So, but like I said, I might kind of maybe plan that out better in the future. But so that happened, and and of course, I'm gonna mention those guests in a second or whatever when I kind of run down my list of guests I've had this year, and people I've collaborated with. But that happened. But then on the flip side, life wise, day after Christmas on the 26th, some dum freaking hit my wife's car while she was driving, and so I get the angles right. So my wife was in the right lane, person over here in the left lane. They decide, oh, last minute, I need to go make a turn to the right to go into like this parking lot or whatever. And instead of maybe waiting for my wife to pass or going down, turning around and coming back, whatever, they decide last second, oh, let me go that way. And they freaking cut across and like hit my wife's driver's side of the car. So like the whole like left front of the car is kind of jacked up or whatever. And thankfully, my wife is fine. She's just a little bit banged up, a little bit sore from it because obviously it hit on her side, and when it hit her, she kind of banged into the window and stuff, whatever. So of course, we've been kind of dealing with doctors and hospital visits and stuff, and insurance and lawyers and all this junk during this week, and then final kicker for the year. So ideally, I wanted to record this whatever on New Year's Eve since it's the last day of the year and get it up or whatever. But I had some family stuff scheduled because my uncle L and any of my family that is listening, shout out to Sandy if you're listening, because but Uncle L texted me Friday and was like, hey, we're gonna be in town or whatever for New Year's. We're gonna meet up at Uncle Jay's house. So I'm like, okay, cool. And so he's like, hey, Saturday, 1 o'clock, come meet us there. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I get myself together Saturday and make the drive over there, which that is an hour. Basically, they live on the opposite side of the Metroplex, because y'all know I live more on the Fort Worth side, and so they live way on the opposite side of Dallas. So that's an hour drive there. So I get there, and my Uncle Jay answers the door, and he seems surprised to see me. So obviously he didn't know I was coming. And so I'm like, hey, so I come in or whatever, and I hear nothing. Don't see nobody else. I'm like, so where everybody else is, where's Uncle Al at? And he's like, oh, they just called me. Their car broke down in Marshall, which for those of y'all remember, that's where I went to college at, which is in East Texas, which is over 2 hours away from where we are up here in the DFW area. And they were stranded on the side of the road because it's New Year's Eve in the afternoon on a set. So Saturday afternoon on New Year's Eve, ain't no mechanic shops open, ain't no car rental places open. So after driving an hour to my Uncle Jay's house, I then had to drive over 2 hours. It was like maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes or so roughly, to go get them, get everything out their car, all the luggage and everything, whatever. And so luckily it was just 3 people, just my Uncle L and my 2 aunts. So these are all of my mom's siblings. So get them, then drive 2 hours plus back to my Uncle Jay's house. But then we did have like a very nice night with some very good food, and I got a chance to kind of like catch up with a lot of family and stuff, especially my cousins. Shout out to Jess and Jen. Uh, they are my cousins I grew up with. Cause I probably mentioned this before, but like of like the grandkids or whatever, like we're kind of like split into like two groups. There's like the older group, because y'all know my brother and sister are way older than me. So my sister was 13 years older than me, and my brother is 16 years older than me. So there's a group of cousins who are way older. They are all in their 40s, early to late 40s now. And then it's my group who, most of us, I think at the most, or maybe like early 30s to late 20s or whatever. So these are my cousins that are in my little group or whatever. And so it was just cool just to finally just to like catch up with them and stuff, because we hadn't seen each other in years, and stuff, whatever. So, and then, yeah, I came home. So, yeah, so yesterday, so pretty much New Year's Eve, I pretty much did about 7 hours of driving. um, but yeah, but of course, did what I had to do to help out family and stuff. So, but yeah, so that's how my year ended. So, between the car wreck and stuff, and then that whole events, whatever, it was a crazy way to end the year. Now, looking back on stuff that I have done, it has been a pretty wild year uh, overall. So, and some of the stuff I had to like double check, like when did this happen? So one of the things that kicked off this year was that I was featured in Saturday AM magazine, which is a magazine which actually do I have? Yeah, and this is something I still want to review or cover one day. But this isn't the issue. But just so y'all are familiar with the Saturday AM logo and stuff, because one of the creators behind this, y'all know him as a White Manga. Uh, I believe he's Nigerian, but he's one of the co-founders of Saturday AM. And so, back in January, I believe it was issue 143. Uh, I was featured in the magazine, so that was a very dope way to kind of kick off the year. And throughout the year, I have been a guest on it's involved with some very cool stuff. So I did a little, or I was part of like a big collaboration that Young Deuces from Geek Set did for Black History Month. Um, of course, I was a returning guest again on the My Hero Academia podcast. Hung out with the homies over at Inside the Mind of a Blur podcast. Uh, a couple of these I forgot. I thought that these were last year, but these were early this year. So I was with the homies from Otakuology back in January. The homie over at Lords of Dorktown, which that was a super dope experience because he's in Australia. So that was very wild trying to coordinate schedules to record with somebody on the other side of the planet. Uh, but yeah, so did that. Of course, recorded with Lisa from the Wonder of Anime podcast. Uh, the homies over at Shonen Flop podcast. The Parents That Geek channel. Anime Savants. And a really big banger to close out the year. I got to hang out with Fox and Cat, formerly of the Solar Scouts podcast. Now they're known as the Solar Realm podcast. So me, along with some other very dope people from the Twitch and gaming and cosplay community, or whatever. It was about like six of us total. Did a episode with them last week to close out the year, so that was super dope. And there's a chance I probably might have forgotten somebody in this, so I apologize if I was a guest on your stuff and I forgot. Like I said, it's just been like a long year. Like I said, just trying to remember I did all this stuff. Shout out to University of Texas Arlington, because I was a guest again for the second year in a row. Got to speak to, they have a new podcast class that they started last year that I was in 2021 that I was part of. And so I got invited again to come and speak to the class virtually, but yeah, so that was super dope getting to do that 2 years in a row. So I'm gonna run down everybody that I made note of, and hopefully I remembered. There was a guest on my podcast, or that I collaborated on my content this year. And so I think I roughly got everybody in mostly order when they happened from the beginning of the year. So shout out to the homie Anime Gensho. We kicked off the year. Aisha from Mama Loves Manga. Uh, collabed with Moody. Collabed with T and Issa from Manga Brownies, who both of which I got to actually meet this year. I got to meet T at DreamCon and Issa at Anime Frontier, so those are very dope. Panda from Worst Gen, who I also got to meet in person. Silent P, the creator of Space Crush Comic. Tequila from Core Reviews. Kiki from Book Vibes. Of course, my number one guest, Steve from Inside the Mind of a Blurred. Got to collab with him multiple times this year. Got to collab with the homie Rob J multiple times this year. Finally got to meet and collab with Sine from Blanime Podcast, which shout out and congrats to her news of she has a baby on the way in 2023. But yeah, so I got to collab with Sine and Steve. We did a panel at Fan Expo, which was super dope, and I'm gonna talk more about it in a second. I got to collab with Bo from Otaku in Training, Mayube, Religiously Nerdy, the awesome ladies from Religiously Nerdy, the homie from Manga Alerts, Shakita from Wild, Weird, and Witchy Podcast. One of the funniest people in the business, Miss Bam, Bam Hendricks, got to have her on. Had Rome from Worship Podcast, Airy, aka Sundari, and the everybody that I collabed with to end the year for my Danny to Talk favorites, Bree, aka All of a Sudden, which I love that handle. It took a while for me to click it to catch that one. And I already mentioned I collabed with both Rob J and Steve again for the TV episode. So so by the way, so Bree from All of a Sudden, or All of a Sudden, she was on the manga recap episode. Steve and Rob J on the TV and movies episode. My homie Greg, who I have known for over a decade ago. We worked together years ago, but he was on my gaming episode, and then of course Shelby for the anime episode. So yeah, so I had a freaking stacked list of guests. That's over 20. That's over 20 people. And like I said, some of them were on multiple times, so that was super dope. Getting to do that, and just a fun little stat. So I kind of went back and I roughly counted that I did over 50 individual reviews, and so that's a mix of manga reviews, some anime reviews, and maybe like some like TV show stuff, whatever that I did individually. And that's not counting as like stuff that was like part of like a bigger podcast episode. This was like manga talk, anime talk, movie talk, little mini episodes or reviews and stuff. So one thing I got to do this year that I want to kind of try to step up in 2023 and do more of, and kind of like put myself out there more. So I got to go to 3 conventions this year, all for free. So like I mentioned, I went to Fan Expo Dallas back in June on Father's Day. They invited me out, so they reached out to me earlier in the spring. Was like, hey, we want you to see if you're interested in doing a panel. And so, like I mentioned earlier, me along with Steve from It Mob and Sine from Blanime, all 3 of us got together and did a panel about networking and anime, which was super dope. And then in July, I got to go to DreamCon thanks to Key. Shout out to you. I love you. You always look out for your boy, so I greatly appreciate that. She hooked me up with with a ticket for DreamCon, which was so amazing because it was so awesome to finally get to meet so many of my mutuals and people that I talk with practically every day online, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or whatever. So that was super dope getting that opportunity and stuff to go there. And then, of course, shout out to Hub Taku and Worst Gen Pod for a collab that they did. They got me free tickets for Anime Frontier. And shout out to the person that I was able to help get a ticket because I didn't know going in that the Anime Frontier ticket that they gave me two, and so I had an extra one, and so I literally just put out on Twitter. I was like, hey, I got a ticket or whatever, and some young lady, I don't know who she is. I never even got to see her in person, but uh, she replied back and messaged like, hey, she's interested in the ticket because I guess like her and a group of friends were all going to Anime Frontier, and she was one of the people who wasn't able to get a ticket or whatever. So I'm like, hey, if you want it free of charge, here have it. I just don't want it to go to waste or whatever. And so I was glad that I was able to kind of like pay that kindness forward for getting a pair of tickets myself and then kind of paying the extra one forward to somebody else. But yeah, so all these conventions were super dope. Getting to go to them and experience them, and like I said, getting to meet people and stuff. Having some of my real life friends and stuff come out to some of this stuff to support me at my panel that I did at a fan expo and stuff. And so I hopefully get to do more stuff like this going forward. Because like I said, it's you know, I'm guessing I'm doing something right if, like I said, I got a convention the size of a fan expo reaching out to me, and I've only, I haven't even hit my 2 year anniversary yet. My full 2 year anniversary is coming up in a few months, but the fact that I've already gotten invited to do a panel, and then I got to get into a few cons and stuff that I've had some of my content creator friends being like, hey man, apply for press access, dude, because especially because I have done actual coverage of those events and stuff. Of like every time I go to them, whatever, I got pictures and videos and stuff, whatever, and I always do like a recap special episode for each event or whatever. And so I like to try to continue to do that or whatever. Especially me being up here in the DFW area, there's a ton of conventions and stuff going on, and so I need to kind of just like be more just like I said, just put more effort forward and make more strives to get out there and to collaborate and to meet more people and make these connections and stuff. So make these business moves happen. But yeah, but I think that is kind of like in a nutshell like my year. I do also want to give a big shout out to Yen Press for putting me on something that has been very helpful to me and my reviews and my content that I do. So Yen Press had let me know, or whoever or whoever was the person on their running their Twitter account back early this year, or whatever. Because I'm just curious. Cause I'm like, okay, I know people get review copies for stuff. When I'm like, okay, what is that process? How are people doing this stuff, whatever? And while I haven't gotten in yet on getting physical review copies for stuff, whatever, from any of these places, but I did find out a very helpful resource called Edelweiss, which, or two of them. One is called Edelweiss Plus, and the other one is called NetGalley, which, hold on. But yeah, one of them is called Edelweiss Plus. Um, and like I said, this one has been very beneficial. This one, along with NetGalley, because you can, if you do like reviews and stuff, whatever, you can basically sign up and then request digital review copies of anything that they have up in their catalog. And so thanks to them, it's one kind of helped keep me informed of different series and stuff that is going on or that are coming up, because I do pretty good about keeping up with stuff that is coming out on the horizon, manga wise and webtoons and stuff, whatever. But of course, one person can never catch everything, and so these have been like some good tools to, even if I don't review certain things, to at least be aware of like, oh, okay, I've never even heard of that one or whatever. Okay, I'm gonna make a note of that. Maybe I'll circle back to it one day or whatever. But yeah, it has been super beneficial. Like I said, just for awareness sake, and for my wallet as well. Just because it's like, man, I really want to check the series out or whatever. But especially during certain times of this year, hey, being a father of five, I don't always have money to blow on all this manga and stuff, whatever. So that has been very beneficial to that or whatever. And like I said, it's kind of helped me stay organized because I already have reviews scheduled for all throughout January 2023. So pretty much almost more than likely, probably every review you'll see in January of 2023 is stuff that I read a month ago, which is very dope, so that I can kind of plan things out that way. But anywho, but yeah, so 2022 is in the books. It is behind us. Can't really have too many regrets or would have, could have, should have. It is just taking notes of what happened and plan better, do better, be better, as Kratos would say in God of War. So yeah, so here's to hopefully a happy, healthy, and beneficial year to myself, to my family, to all of us out there. One last thing. Also, I kind of want to make sure, because this is something that I did a couple times this year, and I definitely need to kind of do it more, and that is taking regular breaks when I actually need it. Like listening to my mind, listening to my body, and not forcing myself and taking breaks. Because I remember I took like majority of the month of May off, and I took like a good chunk of November off, and those were both very needed, and stuff. So and I kind of want to do better about that because, like I said, like trying to just schedule stuff out or whatever, because even like doing like batch recordings like I did with these reviews for January, it's like, okay, maybe I might be in a mood where I'm reading a whole bunch or whatever, and I just do like a full day or weekend of recordings, and then just schedule stuff out for weeks or months down the road, and then that'll kind of give my future self time to relax. It's like, okay, hey, there's already stuff scheduled and planned out. I don't need to try to force and push myself to do nothing too crazy or whatever to try to get something up last minute. And then also just being okay with missing a week or putting an episode up a day or two late. Because, while I'm sure there might be somebody out there that enjoys listening to my podcast or my episodes and reviews and are looking forward to the next ones, I also know that y'all don't necessarily want me out here killing myself and burning myself out just to, let me make sure I have the episode up Wednesday morning or whatever. And it's like, if it goes up midday Wednesday, or if it doesn't come out to Thursday, or maybe not even to the following week, so be it. So definitely want to try to do better for my sake, for my health. And also I kind of want to try to do more for myself. Because I definitely am one that puts others ahead of myself more, from my wife, my kids, friends, other people, whatever. But and not to say this in a bad way, and I hope this doesn't come off in a bad way, but I need to be a little bit more selfish with myself, with my time, and cause doing that kind of emergency run down to East Texas Saturday, it just kind of made me like really realize of like, man, friends and stuff that I have down there, or just heck, even people I have here in the Metroplex, it's like more or less, man, if I have $20 to spare, and even if it's just an afternoon or whatever, I can make a turnaround trip to freaking East Texas to visit my homies down there. Like I said, if I can freaking drive 2+ hours down there just to just go pick up somebody and then come back, then I can go down there, hang out for just a few hours if need be, and then come back. I can do a turnaround trip or whatever. If it's like, okay, I can't spend the night or whatever, but hey, I could come down for a few hours, to hang out or whatever. Or like I said, freaking people up here in the DFW area that it's like man, like people that are maybe an hour on the other side of the metroplex, or hey, there's people that are freaking down the road from where I live, and it's like just trying to do better about that stuff. Like it shouldn't have to come down to family emergencies or different stuff, whatever, for me to go make these visits or to just go have lunch with somebody and stuff, whatever, or to meet up. Because like I said, I know I'm busy. There's always something going on. One of my kids always has practice somewhere. Somebody always has a game or a tournament or whatever. Um, but like I said, just being more vocal and stuff, and just communicating with my wife and stuff. Just being like, hey, I want to go do this, or I want to go hang out with this person or whatever, and stuff. So and yeah, so like I said, just trying to do more for me, and stuff. So that is something that I want to try to strive to do better at and to be better about, um, in 2023 and going forward beyond. So yeah. So with that being said, um, I hope I hope everybody out there had a safe holiday. I hope everybody maybe took some time to kind of rest and to reflect on the year that was 2022, and to kind of prepare to move forward. Because like I said, the year is done, the year is behind us. It is a new day, new week, new year. And so let's all just strive to do better, to be better, and to I don't know, try something new. Try something new, and to like I said, like just take better care of yourselves. Uh, Cause yeah, we only get one life and one go around at this stuff, whatever. And so let's just try to make the best of it. And so as I always say, anybody that's out there interested in collabing with me, whether it's you coming on my stuff or me coming into your stuff, whatever, you can always hit me up, everywhere at Dad Needs to Talk. You can message me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. You can always email me at dnttpodcast at gmail.com and all that stuff. And so, yeah, so I have some very dope things on the horizon for 2023. Hopefully, I have a lot more very dope guests and stuff lined up. But like I said, I'm also not going to super rush myself to get things done, because I want to be here for a long time. I want to be doing this for a long time. And, apologies to people that, it's some people to where the stars just align to where we're able to meet and collaborate within days of meeting each other, versus I have some people that I have known since practically I began doing this podcast that for over a year and a half now, we have been trying to coordinate schedules and stuff, whatever, to do something together. But it's just kind of how things go sometimes. And so yeah, so if I have talked about collaborating with you in the past, I still want to make it happen. It just, it might happen sooner than we planned, or it might happen later than I planned. But I just want everybody to know that I do not forget. I did not forget you. And so, like I said, it's just life. Life has just been happening. And like I said, I just kind of just want to pace myself. And it's like, if I get to something that I have scheduled in January, I get to it. If it's got to be pushed back a month, or if I need to take a hiatus or whatever, then I will do that. But I will always do my best to communicate this stuff with y'all. And so yeah, so thank y'all so much for helping to make 2022 a very memorable year for me. Um, and thank you for helping me get through the year. Because any kind of kind words and messages and stuff that I've gotten from everybody, It is just encouraging me to continue to push forward. Oh, I also crossed 250 subscribers on my YouTube channel, which is super dope. Because I think if I looked at my stats right, I'm pretty sure I was under 70 or so when the year started. So I think so going up like 180 plus new subscribers this year is super dope. Shout out to that one random manga review that made my podcast stats skyrocket for Villains Are Destined to Die. Freaking is now sitting over 7,000 downloads and stuff, whatever. So, which pretty much doubled my podcast listens and stuff, whatever. So yeah. So shout out to everybody that whether you have been here since day one, uh, or you are just now finding me as we kick off 2023. Of course, I don't talk about it enough, but of course, I always have to show love to Mr. Matt B and the Honey Goat herself for continuing to support me on Patreon. Because, like I said, I don't talk about it much and I haven't been able to do too much with it because it's kind of just more of a, hey, if you feel like what I'm doing is just worth a little tip or whatever, it's there. But I greatly appreciate y'all continuing to support me and everything that I do. Y'all too have been there on my Patreon since day one, and y'all continue to be there. And so I am forever grateful for y'all for that. So, but that's gonna do it for this one. Like I said, I don't know when the first actual episode of the year is gonna come out, but I'm planning on it being a very big dope one because of course the winter anime season is upon us, and so fingers crossed I have a very special guest that I have been wanting to collab with for a while, and they have kind of been having a big boom on their YouTube as the year rounded off. So I'm looking forward to me and this person having a very awesome discussion about what they do as well as the winter anime season, because of course there's a lot of dope stuff coming, including Trigun Stampede. And speaking of which, I will go ahead and confirm this because everything has been done and uploaded or whatever. We're just waiting for stuff to go live. The weekend after my birthday, which is on January 6th. So if y'all want to, show your boy some love, you can hit me up, Cash App, all that good stuff. But the weekend of my birthday, when Trigun Stampede comes out, I should be having some Trigun related content that I am doing in collaboration with another channel. So be on the lookout for that the first weekend of 2023, or the 7th, January 7th. So just wanted to tease that a little bit or whatever. So yeah. Benu, enough talking and rambling for me. Because my wife, if she found out that I was in here recording secretly, starting off the new year, she was like, Robert. So, but I plan to put away my microphone for maybe a couple of weeks until I get my guest lined up or whatever, and then we will get this year rocking and rolling. But until then, enjoy the reviews that y'all will be seeing in the coming days and weeks. And as I always say, treat yourself to something nice. Read some manga. Watch some anime and TV. Play some video games. And live your best life. And with that, we are out. Here's to a hopefully banger of a year in the best ways. 2023. Let's see what you have for us. Be kind to us. Please be kind to us. And hopefully, maybe, like I said, maybe I'll see some of y'all at a convention, or maybe as I'm doing all this sports traveling for my kids, maybe I'll get to see some of y'all sometime along the way. But y'all have an awesome day, New Year, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.